Hey, folks, Tito, Jeff Thitoff here with you. It's the Jeff Thitoff Show. Who knew? Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Follow me on Twitter at That Happens. A few things to get through today. And I want to start in the NBA. What was once, I thought, a great idea is no longer a great idea. The NBA's got this 65-game minimum rule. If you want to be eligible for All-NBA, first, second, or third team, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, most improved player, 65 games is what you have to play to be eligible for that. Now, it's been a few years since that's been started, but the reason the NBA did it, and I understand the reason behind it, they wanted to curb load management, guys missing games just because. And so that's why they put this in place. Now, NBA contracts have a lot to do with, as far as how much you can earn, can change drastically if you're all NBA or an MVP or something like that. It can change. It messes with the guy's bonuses too. If you've got a big bonus in your contract being NBA MVP or Defensive Player of the Year, and you can't get it because of the 65-game threshold, that messes with people's money. And look at who votes for these things. It's media. Is the one you got to look at there. So anyway, 65 games, they did it for that reason. But now we've got some guys who are legitimately hurt and missing games. Cade Cunningham's the one I'm talking about right now. He is having a fantastic season for Detroit. He's played 61 games so far this year. He suffered from a collapsed lung. Not suffered from, a soft tissue injury. I want to sit out, load management, not that. A collapsed lung. And there's a chance he won't get to the 65-game threshold this year. If he doesn't, a guy who would be All-NBA doesn't get to be All-NBA. A guy who would be in, I don't think he'd be in the conversation for MVP, but he could be the MVP. But there's Joker in Denver, another guy. Legit injuries, who, if he doesn't hit the 65-game threshold, won't be a candidate for MVP this year or All-NBA. I get why the NBA did it. It's a noble effort. Oh, by the way, let's say, and I heard this argument brought up yesterday, just so you know, the 65-game limit, just because you can't have like Cade Cunningham come in and just play for 10 seconds, then pull him out and count it as a game. You can't do that. The NBA rules are even deeper than that, where you've got to play at least 20 minutes for it to be considered a game for you. Now, you can play 15 to 20 in two different games. They'll still count as games. But anything after that, you got to play 20 minutes a game in the game for it to count as a game being played by you. Interesting little side note there. But what I don't like about it is that it does, yes, it might encourage some people to go out there and play when they're going to take a load management day. But it hurts guys like Cade Cunningham and Joker that are legit up for awards and legit great players if they can't all of a sudden be considered for those things because of this rule. Victor Wembanyama came out and said that, he thinks he should be the MVP. I love that about Victor Wembanyama. I don't think he'll win it this year. I think he's still a year away from winning it. The Spurs have been great so far. So, by the way, on the 65-game limit too, when it comes to voting for awards, if you trust the media to make sound decisions, well-thought-out decisions on who to vote for the various awards and all NBA, if the NBA says to the media, we trust you to make these choices, then why not trust them to make choices, the correct choices, based on how many games guys play as well? What I mean by that is the last player to play in a regular NBA season, obviously we had a couple things happen with like COVID, and we had a couple of strike seasons in there or whatever. But the last player in a full regular season NBA season to win the MVP and not play 65 games was Bill Walton back in 1977. The voters, I don't think, would even give an MVP award to a guy who plays 65 games. Third team All-NBA, maybe. Second team, okay. But I think the voters are smart enough, or at least the NBA, they should think the voters are smart enough that to consider that when placing your vote, when you get your ballot together for MVP, DPOY, six-man, most improved player, and then also the All-NBA teams. Paul George, meanwhile, staying in the NBA. He is back now with the Sixers. They've got 10 games left in the season. He was suspended for 25 games because he violating the NBA's anti-drug program. Now, the 35-year-old George would not say what it was, or did not say, I didn't say would not, did not say what the substance was that he tested positive for, so I'm not sure what it was. He did just say that, I made a mistake. I'm paraphrasing here. Made a mistake, and I'm sorry. I let my teammates down, let my fans down, and all that kind of thing. George is 35 years old. In 2024, before the 2024 season started, he signed that 4-year, $212 million deal with the Sixers, and he is not playing well. This year so far, in the 41 games he's played, he's only scoring a little over 16 points a game, which is his lowest scoring average since he averaged 12 points a game for Indiana back in his second NBA season. One more note on the NBA before we move on. The NBA Board of Governors have approved a vote to look for bids for expansion franchises in Seattle and Las Vegas. The rumored sale price, or the rumored buy-in price, I guess would be a sale price, would be a buy-in price between $7 and $10 billion with the B each. Las Vegas and Seattle. That's where they're going to go, folks. The NBA has long wanted to right the wrong of the Supersonics at the time. Right? I think it might have been the Sonics then. They were the Supersonics when I was growing up. Then I think they transitioned to Sonics. But anyway, from when they moved the first time, Seattle loved the Sonics, supported the Sonics. And so the NBA wants to get back there into that market, I'm sure. And like I said, right the wrong that happened years and years ago. Las Vegas just makes sense. Every time a pro sports franchise now, because they'll be the fourth of the big four, right? You've already got the Golden Knights there. The A's are coming to Las Vegas. So you get an NBA team there as well, and you've already got the Raiders. So all four major sports we represented in Las Vegas. That's going to happen. I don't know how soon this will happen. I don't know what the NBA will do about expansion draft. It'll be interesting to see that, though. But yeah, $7 to $10 billion per franchise, and that a lot of that gets split up among the owners, so they're excited about this as well. It will require a team, at least one team, I would think, to move, maybe two, to move over to the Eastern Conference from the West, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But yeah, so the NBA, they will expand. Switching gears to the NFL. What else are you going to do but talk during this time of year? Let's debate some Hall of Fame candidates. Anyway, Pro Bowl quarterback Joe Flacco going back to Cincinnati on a 1-year deal to back up Joe Burrow. And Flacco, 41 years old now. And really, there's not a lot better places to be a backup quarterback than for the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow in front of you. Burrow is wont to get hurt and spend time on the sidelines. And if you go in and play quarterback for the Bengals, you're throwing Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. You have Chase Brown in the backfield. So not the worst place to be for a 41-year-old quarterback. It's a 1-year contract, according to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, worth $6 million, but with incentives, it could get up to $9 million. So again, Flacco, again, Pro Bowl quarterback. Think about that. Backing up Joe Burrow this season. Joe Flacco and Matt Ryan are inevitably tied together. They both went in the first round of the 2008 draft. Ryan out of Boston College. He went 3rd overall to the Falcons, and Flacco out of Delaware, 18th to Baltimore, obviously. Ryan made one trip to the Super Bowl in that famous game where the Falcons blew a 28-3 lead, lost to the Patriots in overtime, 34-28. Not Ryan's fault. They did lose the coin toss, and that's a big part. Look, lose a coin toss, Patriots go down, score a touchdown, game over. In that game, Ryan was 17 out of 23 for 284, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Do you consider Matt Ryan a Hall of Fame quarterback? Did not win a Super Bowl, but put up some really good numbers. Phillip Rivers never won one either, by the way. You consider Phillip Rivers. Look at it this way, though. Matt Ryan, in his career, 62,792 yards and 381 touchdowns. Not too bad. 183 interceptions. So good numbers for Matt Ryan. But again, no Super Bowl. Flacco, by the way, obviously won the 2012 Super Bowl that was played in 2013 when they beat the 49ers 34-31. And he won the MVP award in that game. He was 22 out of 33 for 287, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Now, Flacco's got another year here, so at least one more year to play, so who knows what his numbers end up being. But right now, he is about 14,000 yards, 14,500 yards behind Matt Ryan. He's got 48,176, 109 fewer touchdowns, 272. and fewer interceptions. He's at 172 versus the 183 that Matt Ryan has. So I'm curious, how much would you weigh in that Joe Flacco Super Bowl win and Matt Ryan being ringless when you determine Hall of Fame quarterbacks? Is Joe Flacco a Hall of Fame quarterback? See, the way I look at it, if you think Matt Ryan is, I do a lot of, well, if this is true, then this is true. If Matt Ryan's a Hall of Fame quarterback, I think Joe Flacco is also. Flacco was never flashy, but again, he won a Super Bowl. Could have won more. Super Bowl MVP quarterbacks who are eligible Hall of Fame and not in there yet are Jim Plunkett, Phil Simms, Doug Williams, Mark Rippon, and Eli Manning. Those are your Super Bowl quarterback MVPs not in the Hall of Fame. Plunkett not being in is a travesty. Plunkett, by the way, won 2 Super Bowls, as did Eli Manning, obviously, and neither one of those guys, although they're eligible, are not in the Hall of Fame. But if you look at Super Bowls as being such a huge deal about if a guy should be in the Hall of Fame or not, because guys get dinged for it. They get dinged for it too in the NFL, more so than in baseball. In baseball, you don't hear it very often where, hey, this guy would be a Hall of Famer, but he never won a World Series. You don't hear it nearly as often. You hear it the most in the NBA. That guy hasn't won a title. Charles Barkley, famous. Think about the other great players that never won a Super Bowl. Fran Tarkenton, Dan Marino, obviously Phillip Rivers, but Marino and Tarkenton both in the Hall of Fame, but they never won a Super Bowl either. Both those two guys are in. Rivers, I think, will be in someday. I just said, look, when we're sitting here in March, and we are still a month away from the draft, I think it's interesting to look at some of these numbers from guys and see who is a Hall of Famer, who should be. I go back and forth with Eli Manning. On the Matt Ryan thing, look at it this way. Matt Ryan, 28-3 lead over the Patriots. I believe if the Falcons win that game, Matt Ryan is a slam dunk Hall of Famer. Just like I believe if Kevin Dyson holds that ball over the end zone that year against New England for the Tennessee Titans and forces it to overtime and the Titans somehow win, I think Eddie George is in the Hall of Fame also. So I think that the Super Bowl thing might break ties. We're looking at a couple of guys, but I firmly believe that that Plunkett should be in the Hall of Fame. There's no doubt in my mind about that one. Flacco, you can make the argument, I believe. We'll see how he finishes up. Like I say, the one-year deal with the Cincinnati Bengals. ESPN did an interesting piece on what all went down in the Max Crosby drama between the Raiders and the Ravens. And the more I read it, the more I hear about it, it sounds like the Ravens were in on Max Crosby until they found they could get Trey Hendrickson. And I know that the Ravens front office says, our goal was to get both of them. That's a load of crap. There's no way the Ravens are going for both of them. And if they had the choice of Max Crosby and lose 2 first-round picks or Trey Hendrickson and keep those 2 first-round picks, they were going to go with Hendrickson all along. Crosby got a bad vibe, weird vibe there the whole time there when he was in the Baltimore facility. Crosby now back with the Raiders and, said, I'm a Raider for life, whatever. I'm supposed to be here. I still think they're going to try to shop him. They won't get 2 first-round picks for him. And if you think the Cowboys might be in on him, the Cowboys have already made a couple of moves. And plus, the Cowboys doctor was one of the guys who was in Baltimore checking out Max Crosby. He was one of the other opinions that the Ravens got was the Cowboys doctor, team doctor. And maybe, and that's where you start thinking the conspiracy theories. Maybe the Cowboys doctor deliberately tried to say, hey, I wouldn't sign this guy because he wants the Cowboys to get him. Mayis I wouldn't trade for this guy. That's what they're thinking there. NFL draft fast approaching. There's more and more steam around former Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson getting picked in the first round. I say buyer beware on that one. Ty Simpson, 6'1" and 1/8. We'll see if he's really that or not. I don't know if he's that. Maybe he is that height. Okay, it's fine. 211 pounds, and he's only been the starter for 15 games at Alabama. That's it. He didn't play much in 23 or 24, and he could not overtake Jalen Milroe for the job. And so if you look at Ty Simpson, the number of starts is something I always look at before when I'm evaluating a quarterback or looking at what he might be. Guys who have 15 or fewer college starts who went in the first round in recent years, it includes Mitchell Trubisky. It includes Anthony Richardson, includes former Buckeye Dwayne Haskins. Now, Haskins it's on a different level, different as far as valuation goes because of the tragic end of his life. But Richardson and Trubisky did not prove to be worthy of first-round picks. I feel the same way about Ty Simpson. I think he will go in the first round, but I don't know if it's something he should, that the team should do, is to grab him in the first round or trade up and try to grab him in the first round. Dan Orlovsky, the former NFL quarterback, currently on ESPN's NFL Live, and to be fair, he's represented by the same agency as Ty Simpson. Let's get that out of the way. Orlovsky, though, has said all along that he thinks Ty Simpson's the better quarterback than Mendoza, which I find to be ludicrous. We can't prove it right now, but I think it's a ludicrous statement. And Orlovsky was on the Pat McAfee show, and McAfee laid him out as far as disagreeing with him on his evaluation of Ty Simpson and why in the hell does he think Simpson's better than Mendoza. I am not saying Orlovsky's doing this because he's got the same representation. Not saying that at all. I think that Orlovsky should be more forthcoming about that, and I'm not convinced that it is that case. That it's not, that it's completely unbiased. Look, he might be right. In a few years, we might look back and say, "Wow, Orlovsky was right." I'd be hard pressed to think that, though, right now today. Based on what I saw from Mendoza against Ohio State. And granted, it wasn't great, but it was efficient, and he led the team to the national championship. Mendoza deserves to be the pick, and Orlovsky, I believe, is just flat out wrong that Ty Simpson will be better than Fernando Mendoza. All right, folks, continue with the NFL. Myles Garrett restructured. There was a contract restructuring between him and the Browns, and the result of that is going to be now, and this is not being widely reported, but it looks like it'd be easier to trade him now. Is that a big deal? Look, I've said all along to the Browns, Myles Garrett, if he wants to play for a winner, he's in the wrong spot. The Browns wasted Joe Thomas's career, and they might do the same with Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, you remember, originally said, "I want out of here. I want to go to a winner." And then the Browns said, much like they did with Deshaun Watson, "Hey, we'll give you a lot of money." And he said, "Okay, I want to be with the Browns." Now, think about this also. I'm going conspiracy theory here, but the Browns also, they were the team that put out there a rule change where you can trade like up to 5 years worth of picks in the NFL. Are the Browns trying to position themselves to make a trade maybe to trade Myles Garrett for draft picks? We'll see about that one. But anyway, Myles Garrett, though, contract restructured, makes it easier to trade him based on the way the salaries now are structured, how they're paid out and whatnot. Just something to keep an eye on. I'm not saying it's happening. I'm not saying that's the reason that the Browns did it, but it wouldn't surprise me if that had something to do with it. Other NFL news that happened, the NFL came out and said that they are, as is per the way the NFL does things, the defending NFL champion, Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks will open the season. Now, in the past, it's been on a Thursday, but for the upcoming season, it's going to be a Wednesday. The Seahawks will open on Wednesday, September 9th as a home game, opponent to be determined. Could be the Bears, could be the Patriots. If they want to do a Super Bowl rematch, I'm not sure on that one. I think the Cowboys are in the mix as well. But two of the teams they won't be playing, certainly, there are the Rams and 49ers. Why is that? Seahawks on Wednesday, September 9th. On Thursday, the 10th. Normally, the spot where the defending Super Bowl champion starts off the season. Instead, it'll be the 49ers and Rams in Australia. That game will kick off at 8:35 Eastern time in the evening, which will be 10:35 a.m. in Australia, in Melbourne. Iconic Melbourne Cricket Ground is where it'll be. 10:35 a.m. kick. It'll be a 10:35 a.m. kick on Friday in Melbourne, which is 8:35 p.m. Thursday in the East Coast time here in the United States. Nonetheless, that will be the Thursday game. So we will have a Wednesday game to open the season, Seattle, opponent TBD. And then Thursday game, or Friday, depending where you're at, I guess, will be the 49ers and Rams. And my problem with that is, and look, I know I've said it before, I'm going to beat the dead horse. Sorry. The Rams are the home team. That means the Rams lose home field advantage in a game against the 49ers. That's significant. When you're trying to get home field advantage of the playoffs, trying to win your division where tiebreakers involve head-to-head play and division play, and the Rams are losing a home game. This bugs the hell out of me. The NFL does this. It's already imbalanced because some teams right now get 9 home games, some teams get 8, and then it rotates the next year. I understand. It's already an imperfect system. But to take a home game away from the Rams playing a neutral site game with a big-time division game. Rams, 49ers, Seahawks, 3 of the best teams in the league. And they're losing that. Now, one way to rectify it, but they'll still screw it up. The NFL will go to 18-game schedule at some point. It's just a matter of when. It'll be a 9-9 thing. But then you'll also lose a home game because they're going to want to play international games, I bet, every week of the season almost. Sometimes 2 in 1 week. It makes for an imperfect system as far as determining who should get home field advantage in the playoffs, who should be the division winners. All of that comes into play here. And I understand the logic why you want to go international more often and grow the game that way, but I don't want it at the expense of the American fans. The fans who are invested in the Rams, buy season tickets, buy their gear. Those people, yes, I said those people that are invested in the Rams emotionally and financially lose a home game now because the NFL wants Australia to get a chance to witness NFL football live. If you're going to do that, make it exhibition games. Play exhibition games over there if you want to do that. Find a way, though, but it's Rams fans are penalized here. And every year when teams give up a home game to go play overseas, if I were an owner, I would be pissed about that. One of the things they're talking about with the 18-game schedule, though, one of the proposals, one of the ideas being floated out, I guess I should say that, is even though they play 18 games, players cannot play more than 17, where the team then would have to decide when certain players will sit out a game. And also 2 bye weeks involved in that as well as part of the other discussion, but nonetheless. So saying that 17 games would be the max is one of the ideas being thrown out there. My biggest problem with this, and I heard Zaslow from the Dan Le Batard show talking about this. It's actually not on the Le Batard show, but it was on a different show. Anyway, talking about so you're telling me that 18 games, an 18-game regular season is too dangerous for players, so we're going to say 17 is the most you can play. If it's that close, you also have playoff games in there too. But if you're telling me 18's unsafe, but 17's okay, that's some pretty damn finite science right there. What do you do in the sense of trades? Let's say that somebody trades for a player who hasn't sat out yet around the trade deadline. Then they have to sit him out. Things you have to think about. There's certain players that seem to get injured more often than others. Injury prone is a real thing. So if you're a team, do you roll the dice with your injury prone player and say, I'm going to keep playing him till he gets hurt, and then I'll sit him? But then you get to week 18. I guess in this case, maybe week 19, whatever it is, 18th game of the season. And you're battling for a playoff berth or home field advantage, something like that. And you haven't sat your star quarterback yet, haven't sat your running back, your edge rusher, something like that. If you haven't sat them yet, now all of a sudden you're screwed. I don't think this will work. I don't think you can say we have an 18-game schedule, you only have to play 17. I understand why the owners might be floating it out there because they're trying to get favor with the NFL Players Association, but I just don't see it being a viable option because I think there's too many variables involved in that when you talk about guys having to sit out at least one game. I just don't think it will work. Other news in the NFL you need to know about. The referees in the NFL are in a battle. The CBA, the collective bargaining agreement with the NFLPA and the NFL, or the NFL and the NFLRA. It's the NFL and the NFLRA. is set to expire on May 31st. So the NFL is preparing for that. And one of the things they're looking at is having additional staff members in New York at what's called the Art McNally Game Day Central and giving them a wider range of times they can chime in and speak to officials, challenge calls, and whatnot. So, and uncalled penalties also. So there's talk about doing that. Like with the NFL, we'll have Command Central, still officials, replacement officials, but still replacement officials at the game, boots on the ground, but also having a large contingent of individuals in New York watching all the games and can alert referees like, hey, you missed this call. This is the wrong call, whatever. It's like almost like expanded replay without it being called replay. This would have to, for the rule of pass, NFL owners would have to get 24 of the 32 teams involved on that to say, yes, we'll do that. And this is what the NFL said on Tuesday. And this is a direct quote. League staff members can alert a replacement referee if they see clear and obvious evidence of an uncalled foul for roughing the passer, intentional grounding, or an act that would normally lead to disqualification. So basically what it is that the Command Central in New York would be able to communicate with the officials on the field and say, you missed this call. We need to take a look at this call or this lack of call, whatever it is. It will be like turning the face mask, roughing the passer, intentional grounding, horse collar tackles, illegal contact, pass interference, and disqualification. So they can do things like that and look at it. I hope the NFL gets this solved with the referees because the NFL referees, first of all, I don't know why they don't go full-time referees. If you know this, I'm not sure, but NFL referees this is not their full-time job in almost all of the cases. They have regular jobs. They just do this on the side and get paid for it. But there's lawyers and teachers and whatever out there. There are people in all walks of life that are referees for the NFL. I hope they can get it resolved. I wish they went to full-time officiating crews and could work on things year-round. It's not going to happen. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out if the NFL ratifies this and says, yes, we will do the Command Central thing, and then they hire replacement officials for the regular season games. Hope it doesn't come to that. All right, March Madness talk, Sweet 16 now is where we're at in the college basketball world. I've said before that the first weekend is so awesome, those 4 days. I wish we weren't down to 16 teams by now, but we are. No real Cinderellas. Texas is the lone double-digit seed remaining, but they're not really a Cinderella. I would almost call Nebraska more of a Cinderella than Texas, even though Nebraska is a much higher seed because Nebraska's never been there before. I'm not going to call Texas a Cinderella. And really, I don't want to call Nebraska one either, but maybe no Cinderella stories, but that's going to be the case going forward. It'll be very rare, I think, to have a true Cinderella story just because if you're a great player on a mid-major team, after 1 year, you're going to get offers to move up to the big leagues and play for a power conference team. It's just the way it's going to be. You're not going to see many guys, I don't believe, unless they're like coach's son kind of thing. But, Nebraska being a 4 seed, that's our Cinderella this year. I don't think you'll see many more because just the way basketball, the way NIL is structured now, it'll be tough to find like a veteran-laden team that sneaks in as a 12 or a 13 seed and makes a run to the Final Four like George Mason, VCU, Florida Atlantic have done in recent years. Loyola Chicago, another one there. But the March Madness is going to expand. I don't know when, but it will expand. I don't care if it expands. And I understand the arguments about, it shouldn't expand. It's going to make the regular season less important. Regular season's already not that important. It's already not that important. It's not going to change it that much. But I'm not going to sit here and bang the table and fight for, 68's the number, or they should have stayed 64 or 54 or 48 when I was growing up. Like those every time they make the expansion of it, there's always a big to do about it. Like, you're weakening this, you're weakening that. People still watch. And if they add another, eight playing games or whatever they're going to do, whatever the number is, math, I'm not sure how it works out, but whatever, they're going to add playing games. Say they do that. it's not going to change how I watch the NCAA tournament. I will still consume it the same way, the way I want to consume it. It's not like you're forcing me to watch 8 more playing games or 4 more playing games, whatever it is. I didn't watch a lot of the ones that were just done, and there was a couple of intriguing stories there. I wait till the Thursday of the NCAA tournament when it's down to 64 teams. So they're going to do it. It's going to expand because of money and because people will watch it. Look, the first 2 rounds of the tournament this year, they had 10.1 million viewers on TBS, CBS, TNT, and True TV, the most watched tournament ever through the first 2 rounds. First round was averaged 9.5 million viewers. Second round averaged 11. And there weren't these huge Cinderella stories and things like that going on in those games. There were compelling games. The Siena Duke game was one of them, obviously. High Point beating Wisconsin. But it wasn't like there were a bunch of, like a slew of upsets, a slew of Cinderella stories that we were watching. People watch it. They will keep watching it. Kentucky, Santa Clara, another big one. But people are going to keep watching it. So just because they add more teams to it, I'm not going to get all upset about it because it's not going to change how I watch the NCAA tournament. No surprise here, North Carolina fired Hubert Davis on Tuesday. And Hubert Davis had a fine record. Hell, his first year went to the championship game, ended Coach K, beat Coach K twice down the stretch. His last game at Cameron Indoor, and then also in the game in the Final Four. It was a fantastic first season for Hubert Davis. The next season, they come in ranked number 1 preseason, missed the tournament. First team to ever come in preseason ranked number 1 and miss the NCAA tournament, declined the NIT. But the last 2 years, they've lost in the first round of the Big Dance, and this season they lost to VCU, blew a 19-point lead. So, not completely surprised he's gone. Is it the right move for North Carolina? The future of blue blood schools. I want you to think about this. And I'm not naive enough to think players weren't getting paid for years. I believe since the beginning of big-time college basketball, players have been paid under the table in a lot of different cases. Not every time, but I think a lot of times they were getting paid. And sometimes that affected whether a kid went to one school or another. You might say, I want to go to this school. They're going to pay me. This school won't pay me or won't pay me as much. When you got beyond that, though, there were other factors involved. A blue blood program like North Carolina. I've heard people say it might be the best or most attractive coaching job that's open. Maybe, maybe not. But you could sell people. You could sell kids on the history, the tradition. I will develop you for the NBA. Look at how many guys from North Carolina are in the NBA. Look at how many were top picks. Michael Jordan is another guy. Dean Smith. All these things, ACC, Duke rivalry. All these things are great. But money's going to rule all of this. You can try to sell me on Michael Jordan, sell me on blue blood, sell me on the facility, sell me on the history. But if you're not going to pay me the most, I might not. If it's apples to apples, that would break ties, yes. But if it's not apples to apples, I might go to a different school. It's going to pay me more. Maybe someday I'll end up in North Carolina. I could always go there still in a couple years. There's no penalty for transferring. But the idea that a team that's a blue blood school can just go in there now and just say, look at me, I've got these credentials, and have that sway a kid who's got NBA on his mind and NIL on his mind, NIL first, I guess, then NBA, but it's just ludicrous to think that a kid would change because it's a blue blood program. Look, Carolina is open. Kansas could be open. Kentucky could be open, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to all of a sudden get the best candidates as far as coaching goes and the best players. A far cry from that. College football, by the way, they might start their season a week earlier, and it might be in 2027, not 2026. Look, the way college football schedules work, that's all locked in. But in 2027, the NCAA is talking about having week 0, which they've always called it, be a week where everyone plays, not just a select number of teams. They'll call it week 1. Maybe they'll call it week 0 still just for PR because they don't want to say you play 13 regular season games. But or week 13 regular season. If they do that, then you'll probably have 2 bye weeks, I would think, for everybody, which is great for wedding planners and wedding halls, like in Central Ohio especially, that if you know Ohio State's got 2 bye weeks, you want to have a fall wedding, that's your time to do it. Anybody who has a fall wedding when Ohio State has a game, you're an idiot. No offense. But anyway, so the move of doing that, to have everyone playing starting in week 0 in 2027, that'll have to be approved by the NCAA Football Oversight Committee. There's so many damn committees. They meet on April 16th, but it might not be until May or June before we find out about that. So the NCAA, though, might move to week 0, start the season for everybody a week earlier, still have the bye weeks. There's so many things to figure out with this college football calendar. I've heard Ross Bjork talk about it on numerous occasions, for the Ohio State athletic director, about how screwed up the calendar is, and he's right. The way the calendar is set up, and also with all the transfer portal, the portal open, portal close, all these things, it's all stupid the way they've got it. I'm not sure why they haven't fixed it yet, but maybe this NCAA Football Oversight Committee can do something about it. I'm guessing they cannot. So we have to see then, too. Obviously, because the conference schedule, once they come out, you got to start looking at that and who's going to play where and how you have to adjust that, because week 0 might also then become a time to start your conference schedule. You might see more conference games going on in week 0. So anyway, we'll keep you posted on that one as well. Oh, by the way, Major League Baseball started last night. Didn't know if you knew that. Yankees beat the Giants 7-0. And that game was on Netflix. The rest of opening day gets underway today, here on Thursday. The Reds have normally been they were for a long time the first game of the season, sometimes only the first game on the schedule that year, or to start the season, and then they would take the next day off while everyone else plays, and then we have a full schedule again. But the fact we have a game in the books already, and the Reds don't even have the first game on Thursday. They're playing at 4:10 after some other games get underway. Get off my lawn, but the Reds should be the opening day game and the only opening day game. I'll adapt and overcome on that one. That's not a hill I'm going to die on, but it really, the Reds should be the opening day game. But nonetheless, Major League Baseball gets underway on Wednesday night. Yankees beat the Giants 7-0. All right, folks, that's it for me, Jeff Thitoff. Follow me on Twitter @FitHappens. This has been the Jeff Thitoff Show on FanStream Sports.